What's up, everybody? This is Dave. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about sort of the elephant in the room about my channel for a little while that I just haven't addressed yet. What does my Robinhood stock portfolio include? So if you haven't been to my channel before, I am an online eBay reseller. I also invest into the stock market and try to find other cool ways to make money either online, at home, or ways to just live a bit more frugally than normal so that we can continue to save and live sort of a fun lifestyle that is on our terms and what my fiance and I would like to enjoy for ourselves. So stick around. This is going to be a good one. Welcome to my Robinhood portfolio. So starting off, I'm going to give a little bit of an overview on my total equity. I'm going to give you sort of an update on the timeline of where my portfolio has performed across 1 day, week, month, 3 months, 1 year, and then all-time performance. And then I'm going to dig into the top 5 investments that I currently have in this portfolio. So we have VTI, Disney, Microsoft, VOO, and Ford will be the top 5 that I'm going to review. I'm going to be a little long-winded probably on the first stock just to show you sort of what my mindset was at this time, especially when it came to some recent events in, our society with, the pandemic and a few other things, and what decisions that I decided to make in my investment strategy this year, knowing this year was unique for each and every one of us, one way or the other. None of us have ever seen, or most of us have never lived through and seen an issue like we have this year. So, yeah, we'll dig right into it. So my current stock value is at $105,486.52. Now, I'm recording this on a Sunday, so this was last Friday's performance. So on Friday, the last day of the market before closing, my account had lost a total of 0.32% during the day during normal trading hours, or $337.11. And after hours, lost an additional 0.06%, or $62.19. Looking at my performance for the week, so my account overall at a loss, down about 0.5%, 0.48, or $500. Going out for the 1 month recap and overview. This is where you're going to start to see some of the impacts of where my investment strategy was working in my favor, and I believe will continue to work in my favor. $4,366.57 to the good, or plus 4.32%. Over the course of 3 months, my account was up a total of 9.9%, or just under $10,000. For the entire year, my account is up 18.58%, or $16,500. And for an all-time account value, my account is up $22,030. I'm sorry, 22.30%, or $19,236.52. This is not typical. I want to put this out there for everyone. I've said this in other videos. I'm not a professional in finance. I am not a financial advisor in any way, shape, or form. So some of this is because of good research, good gut intuition, and every once in a while some emotional purchases. That's not supposed to happen. I know that. Supposed to leave emotions completely out, but as a new investor, you learn your own way. And for me, I had to learn the hard way in a few different scenarios. So typically what you'll see is someone's account will grow approximately 8%, give or take, year over year, on the good side, on the higher side. This 18+% investment, I would say, is primarily due to what we see here in this massive dip. So this is where the pandemic really hit. The stock market took a tank, and then I've grown dramatically since then. And that's majorly because of the fact that I invested heavily between beginning of March and the end of March. Right around this time frame here, I saw a window of opportunity, to say the least, to have my money work a little bit in my favor. To quote Warren Buffett, we simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy, and to be greedy only when others are fearful. This was a time in the market when everyone was afraid. No one knew what was going on in our society across the globe. People were fearful that the market was going to crash. People started to take their money and put it in their pockets. A ton of people began to lose their jobs. Obviously not fun, but it caused some major instability in the stock market, and it caused basically a massive discount for anyone that had the ability to invest. And I've luckily had a chunk of savings to the side from when I was working in my corporate position, or working for a job versus working for myself, and I decided to take the risk and invest heavily during this time frame. So I'm going to go ahead and use it as a segue into reviewing my first stock, which is going to be VTI. And then I'll explain why that sort of segues into this. So VTI, if you didn't know, stands for Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. So this is an ETF that compiles up of the entirety of the stock market as a whole, and basically this unit will fluctuate and mirror to some degree stock market performance. So you're investing into this, you're essentially investing into a small piece of the entire stock market, which is a little less risky than investing into just one company, because if one or two companies go really bad, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of companies that can continue to perform stable or really well. But at the same time, if something happens like we saw this year, the entire market drops. Therefore, an ETF like this will also follow suit and will drop as well. So if we look at performance of the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, 5-year whole, this has gone up 70.9%. You can see this ETF was impacted dramatically with, as I mentioned before, the pandemic and the entire stock market sort of mini crash that we experienced back in February and March. For the year, even though we experienced this crash, for the last year, this is still up 16.56%. So this still is performing really well because of the fact that our market has begun to bounce back. As you can see down here, my entire market value into VTI, this is where I have the majority of my investments in terms of an individual unit. I have $37,640.60 invested into VTI. Well, that's my total equity right now. My upfront initial cash cost was $30,033.68. And it has since returned a total of a 25.33% return, or $7,606.92. So again, this is not typical. I saw a window of opportunity. I try to think through a lot of my decisions as much as possible, and I sort of channeled my inner Warren Buffett to take that quote and use an opportunity when the market was fearful to invest heavily and hopefully see a return. Just to showcase, going into my history, I want to show you during that time frame. Yep, right here. So you can see the purchase that I placed in November of 2019. VTI was about 159.32. It had since increased to right around, I think it was $171 a share right before the pandemic hit, and then stocks started to drop. So when stocks just started to drop right on March 6th, you can see I placed an order for 70 shares. It was just over $10,000 that I invested at an average price of $149. I realized that the prices continued to drop, so I invested another $1,000 when it hit 141. And March 13th, when the stock price hit $130, I decided to invest another $5K. Ended up being a total of $5,230.14 for 40 shares. And then on March 24th, I invested in another 40 shares at $119.83, or just under $5,000 investment. So between March 6th and March 24th, I invested over $20,000 into VTI. Again, this is not something that I know everyone can do, and even if you can, it's not something everyone will do. I took a huge gamble on this, and I believe it's already paying off. As you can see, it's up $7,000 for my total investment. That's everything I invested even prior to this, but I decided to take a leap of faith. Next up on the chopping block is Disney. So wait for it to load here. Yep. Disney right now currently at $126.66. I currently have invested $14,850.85. And my total equity right now is $16,085.82, or a total return of 8%, or $1,234.97. This would be somewhat typical of what you would see on the higher end of a return. But remember also, Disney was impacted very heavily with them having to shut down all of their theme parks across the globe. Movie production, television production, took a hit for quite some time. So Disney definitely had dropped quite a bit. As you can see, we'll go through the 1-year overview. Here's where the pandemic hit, end of February and then into March, and it took a pretty big drop. But at its high end, Disney was up to $151.67. I invested into Disney personally because I'm a huge fan, this is where some emotion has come in, but at the same time, it's where emotion sort of makes sense to some degree, at least for me. Disney has been there since I was a child. It has been there since my parents were children. Disney is everywhere, and Disney is continuing to grow and absorb other smaller companies. Their purchase of Marvel, the acquisition of Fox's positions on Marvel, Star Wars, the Star Wars land that they had just released, not too long before the pandemic hit. They are continuing to grow, and as you can see, since the pandemic has hit and it has bottomed out for Disney, which was right around $85 a share, it has continued to climb back slowly but surely. It's going to be a long road for them. I'm positive of that, but I'm also extremely confident that Disney is going to continue to grow and innovate in ways that will make them continue to profit, especially with Disney Plus coming out and a few other things. They're really hitting it out of the park with a lot of their privately owned and ran productions on that platform as a whole. Next up is going to be Microsoft. Microsoft is just a staple. Okay, wait for it to load again. This is always fun. Again, Microsoft is just a staple in terms of just household electronics. If you got an Xbox or any type of computer, you got Microsoft Offices and software platforms that they utilize right now. I can't see almost anything wrong with investing into Microsoft from my perspective anyway. Over the course of 5 years, they are up 366%, which is huge. And that is massive, and it's awe-inspiring for me. My total market value in them right now is $7,885.80. I invested $4,480.79 out of my own money into Microsoft, which has given me a total return of 75.99%, or $3,405. So another, I think, consistent performing stock, in my opinion. If I'm not mistaken, I do believe they also pay out some dividends. Nothing major, but it's still something. A little extra is always a nice thing to have, one way or the other. Next to last is going to be VOO. And we'll continue to detail this one just a little bit more. So this is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. So similar to VTI, where the VTI follows the entire stock market, the Vanguard S&P 500 follows the S&P 500. So the top 500 companies inside of the stock market are what make up this unit, this VOO unit that you purchase. So typically you are investing into the top performing of all time companies in the stock market that have been allowed the privilege of being incorporated into the S&P 500. So it's, I don't want to say it's fail safe, but it's a relatively smart decision in my opinion. And if you do your research and you make the same decision and opinion as I have, you'll probably assume the same thing. But again, follows a lot of where the stock market performance is, because these companies really support driving, I believe, much of the stock market performance that we see day in and day out. So yeah, I invested $3,984.48. My current market value is $4,773.45, for a total return of 19.8% or $788.97. And then last but not least, Ford. Some people are going to look at this and wonder why have you invested in the Ford? Why is it in your top five? And I'll explain that a little bit. It's not going to be overly technical. This is definitely somewhat of an emotional purchase for myself. But I really want to address that elephant in and of itself. Ford has not had a great track record in terms of stock market performance. Over the last 5 years, you can see they have consistently lost money. It is rather astounding at how much money they have continued to lose. Not lost money from just a company operating perspective, but how much their stock has been worth. So back in 2015, they were right around $15 a share. Today, they are at $7.63 a share. To explain sort of my top two reasons for this is really simple. I grew up in a Ford family. My father has been a Ford guy from the day I was born. And as much as I did not like Ford at a very young age, I started to see Ford making small steps to improve both their vehicle performance, in terms of like gas mileage and EPA, and then slowly start to worry about aesthetic appeal. For a while there, they were some of the least aesthetically pleasing cars, in my opinion, behind their competitors between Chevy and Toyota, and Ram. It felt like the other companies were starting to really gain traction ahead of Ford for a very long time. And then I think Ford finally realized they needed to step up. And then the second reason, there's actually going to be three. The second reason is when I initially heard Ford was going to start shutting down production of some of their low cost vehicles and just focus on their moneymakers, which is their trucks. This is the smartest thing I think Ford could have done. Ford has spent a lot of time and a lot of money on cars like the Taurus and the Contour, and cars that just really, they might have been economically pleasing to some degree, but they just were not fashionable and just barely functional. They got you from A to B, but they didn't really come with any other perks other than they got you from A to B. Whereas their trucks can take you anywhere, everywhere, and people, there's a cult following behind trucks. Whether it's big trucks, full size pickup trucks, mid size pickup trucks, SUVs. Like there is a cult following behind that, especially in like the off road community. That segues into my final piece. I've been hearing whispers around them bringing back the Ford Bronco for quite some time, and I always knew for how much of a cult following there is, like I mentioned, around off-roading and specifically the Bronco. If they did it right, this could be a complete game changer and really skyrocket Ford into the off-roading community in a way that will keep up with, Jeep, from a Wrangler perspective, and Toyota from the 4Runner perspective. This could really put them in the top three, if not make them number one as a direct head-on competitor of Jeep. And just recently, they finally unveiled their new Ford Bronco, and it is exactly that. And I'm super excited to see what Ford can continue to do. Just like Jeep has done, Ford is already lined up, I believe, almost 100 different aftermarket style products for upgrades so that they can continue to capitalize on when people want to, modify their vehicle for off-roading and camping and overlanding and all that, all that fun stuff. So it's they're finally getting into a market where people want to buy a Ford for more than just reliability and durability, but now it's also for appeal and extracurricular activities and fun. Those things. People always talked about Jeeps and 4Runners. You never really talked about a Ford pickup doing that kind of stuff. People did it. I'm not saying it couldn't do it, but it didn't really have that cult following. And I think Ford is now going to tap into that. And that basically happened right around this time frame. I can't remember the exact release date. I think it might have been here right around June 5th, as you can see this spike. And so that's in combination of Ford, announcing some of their shutdown and closures of some of their product lines, some of their factories to start consolidating. That all happened right around the same time frame here of when the pandemic hit. And then I believe it was somewhere around June 5th is when they finally unveiled the Bronco. So I've invested quite a bit into Ford. It's still at a loss for me right now. I've invested $4,576.06, and it's only worth $4,074. But I'm okay with that because I truly believe this is for the long term. As you can see, I own 534 shares of Ford. So they go up even just the slightest amount. I'm going to feel some of that impact. It's not going to be incredible. It's not going to be great. But at the same time, Ford pays out dividends. So, Ford is paying me to own their stocks. I believe it was somewhere around a 7% dividend payout, if I'm not mistaken. So, I get 7% of my total market value paid out to me over the course of a year. And then I just take that and reinvest it right back into the stock market. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Ford continue to do for the last, what is this, about 3 months now? Has it been on an increase? Yep, for the last 3 months, it's increased 11.71%. So I'm extremely excited to see this trend continue over the course of the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months and beyond that. So yeah, looking forward to it. So I hope you enjoyed the top 5 review. Some honorable mentions I will put out there. I have Beyond Meats. I have this company here, TNDM. I can't recall their name off the top of my head, so we'll let it load up. That's at Tandem Diabetes Care. They're a medical company that is investing into different diabetes research. You can see they've been on a pretty decent growth path. I don't have a ton invested into them. But I felt like this was an important sector for me to help diversify my portfolio, and I wanted to take a risk in a company that was new to me at the time, but based off of everything I've read, is looking pretty solid. Next up is KO. So if you don't have some of this, take a look. Coca-Cola, again, just another staple product. You can't be in your home without finding some type of a Coca-Cola product. They again took a big hit right around the time of the pandemic, but they were on a massive increase. And again, I believe they were just going to continue to ride that wave. Thank you all. I really do appreciate you taking the time to hang out. Let me know how you like this video, and if you want more like it, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification bell, and please leave that comment below on this video to let me know, if you do like it, if you don't like it, and what feedback you have for me. So appreciate y'all. Take care. Love you. Bye.